Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO.
3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about all things 3DO, the 3DO company, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is Thrak. How you doing, Thrak?
Oh, I'm fine, Bill. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. We're getting towards the point where things are getting cold now. The weather doesn't know what the hell it's doing. Typical New England fun.
Oh, it's still warm as hell over here. Like, it's been almost a month since we've had any rain. So, like, the drought is really bad. We're supposed to get some rain, hopefully, by, like, the weekend going in the next week. So, fingers crossed on that one. Because, yeah, like, it's just really brown and muggy out here. It sucks.
Yeah. See, we got that time of the year where you wake up and it's freezing, but then by the time I get out of work, it's fucking like 90 again. And I'm just like, all right.
We had a couple days like that, but we're just stuck in this, like, high pressure situation right now. So we're just kind of hanging in there as best as we can.
I mean, I love the fall, so I'm not really complaining. It's just one of those things where it's like, I just wish I can't wait till it evens out and like plateaus kind of somewhere.
I'm just ready for it to be cold all the time again. That's all I want, man. I just want to wear my Vikings hoodie more now because they're 2-0 right now. I don't know how the hell that happened. They're leading their division. It's been crazy, but I'm
just
happy.
amazed the Patriots won. Like,
yeah, that win over the Bengals shocked everybody. Like, holy shit, they pulled it off. So it's just this league, man. This league is crazy. That's why it's always worth watching every year because you never really know what's going to happen, Like,
see,
I mean, hell,
like
I don't think the Chiefs are going to three-peat the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen.
See, the thing that I've been enjoying about this is we're getting the smug Bill Belichick commercials now where he's just fucking living life. And I'm like, where the hell was this Bill for years?
Well, he was always focused on the game, and you
True.
could tell that's what mattered. But like now that he's retired, he can actually like show off more of his personality, And I think he's a unique guy. It's weird he's dating a super young cheerleader, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that you see that shit nowadays, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, well, there's the whole P. Diddy thing going on right now, so Yeah. But anyways, I've been playing a little bit of Space Marine 2.
Nice.
Because some friends of mine have been wanting me to play it, friends of the show and my IRL friends. I haven't played it with them yet because we got to schedule things, but I messed around with it last night. God damn, this is a good video game. It's really fun. It feels like a video game, that it's a game you can just kind of shut your brain off and just kind of go for it,
Nice.
And then what was funny was it was like the director of the project or whatever, like said a whole thing about how like, oh, we made this game because, we were tired of, games, being like political or whatever, and all that stuff. And him saying that about Warhammer, I thought was fucking hilarious. I mean, one, all art is inherently political. Okay. It just is because it's just how things go. And number two, like, do you not know anything about Warhammer? Like Warhammer, it's like Starship Troopers. Like the whole thing is just over the top fascism. Like that's what the Imperium is, right? But but whatever, right? Whatever. But it's a fun game. I'm having a good time with it. It's weird that the melee combat's kind of soulsy because you can you have like your parries and your dodges and all that stuff, but you only really need it for some of the slightly bigger enemies. And then you can always just like shoot people. So it feels like it's slightly modernizing it, but it's not taking away from the original feel of Space Marine 1, which I do have, and I beat it a couple years ago. And it's a really fun game as well. That
just seems to be like something that I've been noticing with games lately is it's kind of like a thing where like once like a certain style kind of like really becomes popular, it kind of starts infecting every other game like there is.
Yeah, I think we're in like peak Souls saturation. Like we're at that point where there's just so many games that have like the Souls-like elements, even if they're very minimal. Like this game, it feels very minimal.
Well, it's like when the QuickTime event really started to get popular. It was suddenly in every fucking game imaginable for a while there.
Yeah, now it's like basically vanished.
Yeah, now you see a QuickTime event, you're like, ugh, it's like this again.
I think we're at that point with QuickTime events. They happen so few now that most people don't really care. And usually, if a game has QuickTime events, it lets you know up front.
True.
And they tried to do it where it could be like, say, applicable, because there are certain games where it could where it works, and I think it helps. But yeah, it's not in every game anymore.
See, I remember like when Sonic Unleashed came out and there was just fucking QuickTime events in the stages. Like, oh, like whenever I go back and play it, I see it and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
What was it when you were doing like the sidestepping or?
They were in random places. Like a lot of them were in the werehog shit, but like you'd occasionally like go up like a ramp and then like the game would freeze and then you'd get like a button combo. And if you failed it, Sonic would fall to a different platform. But if you got it right, you go up to the preferred route.
It's been a while since I played Unleashed, but that sounds right.
They stopped doing it very fast because in colors they made it just mash A.
Yeah, when you would do like say your style points or whatever, I mean, hell, when games want you to like say hold A or tap A during like a boss fight, like in a way that's a QuickTime event. But so then they just incorporated better.
They simplified it even more in Generations, because in Generations, rather than pressing a button, they just sort of like flail the analog sticks around and get points. It was like cool, whatever.
Yeah. So and yeah, I feel like probably within a couple years, like the Soul stuff will die down, because it's obvious it's like the hot thing right now. But even though it feels like some companies are starting to figure it out more, like this is like, I feel like the Souls clones are starting to get better because they're starting to kind of figure it out. I mean, hell, games like Lies of P, which I think was a fantastic game. You'd swear FromSoft made it. It was that good. But we'll probably get a few more of those, and then the industry will probably move on to something new. Like
the next fad will pop up, and then that'll become the big thing in gaming.
Yeah, I saw some people were trying to do like weird, like anti-woke stuff on like Lollipop Chainsaw because that remaster came out, and I guess it wasn't getting a lot of like reviews when it was coming out, which I heard had something to do with like the publisher not giving out review codes in time or whatever. And so, and people are trying to be like, oh, they don't want to review this game because it's not woke enough or whatever. And most of what I heard of the game was people just saying, no, it's just not a good remaster.
Yeah, I mean,
I heard it was not a good remaster at all.
Yeah, I've also, the fact that a lot of people miss is the fact that Lollipop Chainsaw was such a fucking obscure game to begin with.
Yeah, I remember when it came out because I had a couple friends who really liked it. I do have like an original 360 copy, which I would like to sit down and play properly one of these days because I like Suda. Oh yeah, so I want to see, and that's the thing. Suda and James Gunn aren't involved in this, and they were the two main guys last time, which already should have made a lot of people go, "This might not work." Yeah, because it doesn't have the people who actually give a shit behind it. So, like, kind of, what's the point?
Yeah, I remember like Lollipop Chainsaw when that came out. That was the big thing with it was the first really big Suda game after No More Heroes.
Yeah,
and like people were like super hyped for it. And I remember like the general consensus was they're like, it's a really good game, but my God, is it a fucking weird idea?
Yeah, but that's what you want from Suda is the weird ideas,
It has by far to this day my favorite achievement / trophy in a video game ever, though. The achievement is just simply titled, "I swear to God, I didn't mean it." Yeah.
The upskirt.
Yeah, because I've seen like people do this. It is almost impossible not to get that achievement just with how that game works.
It is what it is. I always liked that her like boyfriend was like her like a detached head that just kind of hung there and just would like talk shit. Like that's fun. It has that sort of that charm to it,
It is very much a Suda game, yes.
Yeah, very much so. One of these days I'll sit down and play it, the original 360 version, and then maybe I'll talk about it because I know I know people like it. It definitely has its fans, But I know in the realm of Suda, it's not considered like one of his better games, but people do like it. You know,
Yeah.
it's got to be better than Shadows of the Damned.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it was.
I don't hate Shadows of the Damned, but it's such a missed opportunity for what that game could have been. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the Square Enix stuff that came out today or yesterday?
What, that their games didn't sell well again?
Yeah, they're crying about 16 and 7 Rebirth not selling well, and I'm just sitting there going like, guys, I'm starting to think that people don't like Final Fantasy as much as you seem to think they do.
I mean, if they're gonna complain that much, then just fucking put them on everything.
Well, I saw
which they're gonna do. I think 16's on a PC now.
Yeah, they shadow dropped it on everybody.
Yeah.
And the player count, I guess, is super low, which like people are really concerned by. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm pretty sure the people that really wanted to play it bought PS5s just to play it. Like,
well, and also I think because they didn't advertise the shadow drop.
Yeah,
so there's probably some people who just don't know. And right now it's on Steam it's $50 on Steam, which is not bad at all.
Well, yeah, that's $20 less than what I paid for my new copy. So.
And I have a feeling this game is going to get announced for Xbox pretty soon.
Probably at some point.
Because Square's pushing like the multi-plat strategy. And from what I heard, they said when they put 14 on Xbox, like it did really well. But they made it, they announced it. They made a big deal out of it. And from what I know, it's been doing pretty well on there.
True.
So they're probably just going to throw 16 and then they'll probably do like 7 Remake. True. If they can get it out of Sony's hands, which I imagine they can if they really want to.
I will, well, because 7 Remake's on PC as well, so
that's true. So they can throw it there.
I will say though, like, I'm starting to get I think Square hasn't realized the fact that there's so many RPGs are so mainstream now that Final Fantasy isn't like the number one RPG anymore.
Though it's still, when people think RPGs, they think Final Fantasy.
True.
Still to this day, at least in the West, like when people think RPGs, the first thing they think is Final Fantasy. Like True. To this day. So I get why they're like, it should be doing better, I guess. But like Final Fantasy 15 sold, I think it was 10 million copies, and it took it about 10 years to do that.
Yeah, and 15 is a very divisive game.
Yeah, but that was a multi-plat day one, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So it had a longer opportunity to sell more.
Yeah.
And my guess is 16, it being on PC and probably eventually on Xbox, it'll probably get to that number as well. It'll just take a while. Because I feel like RPGs tend to have like a long tail when it comes to sales. Like people may not get them right away, but eventually, word of mouth spreads and then people go back and get them. Because RPGs can age really, really well. And that's, people just kind of slowly get into them as they go so that you never feel like you're behind when it comes to RPGs.
I think part of it too, though, is also like Square just for some reason, like it's not Square entirely, because we've seen that like Dragon Quest 11 was fucking great.
Yeah. Best-selling game in the series.
Oh yeah, like that game did amazing, and a lot of their projects, like Octopath, did really well. Like Triangle Strategy did well.
Their games do. I mean, even 16 didn't sell that bad.
It didn't.
It didn't.
Like, I think the problem is like Square is like so confused on what Final Fantasy should be that they're just like it's like this ongoing cycle of like they're just like constantly fighting back and forth. Like I can't even like it's weird when I think like the last really like Final Fantasy feeling Final Fantasy was probably 10, 2 maybe.
Yeah. I feel like they think that now that they've gone to like pure action combat, that they should be making like God of War sales numbers.
Which is hilarious because they make that whole argument that turn-based games just don't sell anymore. Meanwhile, fucking Persona is just laughing in their face.
I mean, hell, as we mentioned, Dragon Quest 11 sold really, really well. Like, let's see. By December 2021, Dragon Quest 11 has shipped over 6 million copies, which for that series is the best it's ever done worldwide.
Yakuza Like a Dragon, a turn-based RPG that was made.
Both Like a Dragons have done really well. So
to me, it's a game that was made off of a Twitter joke that became this massive thing.
Yeah, and it's like that's where the series is gone now. Like,
Oh yeah.
so I don't know. Like, let's see, Final Fantasy 16. What is it sales at right now? Let's see. Do we have a like it sold 3 million units in its first week?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that's pretty fucking good. Like, what's there
Square's
to
got
complain
these
about?
Square is stuck in the past and they have these unrealistic expectations. It's like,
Yeah, like it's just I don't know what numbers they want from their games. Like, what did they want 5 million in the first week?
I mean, this is the same company that claimed the Tomb Raider reboot didn't sell well enough.
Yeah, and it
so,
was the best selling game in the entire series, like ever.
yeah.
I'll never understand it. And it's like, and I don't even necessarily think they're strapped for cash. I imagine they're doing just fine. It's just
Yeah.
I don't understand them. I really don't.
They're I love them because they make so many games that I really enjoy, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, to be fair, one of my favorite series is the Tales series, and I despise its fucking creator. So
What did the creator do?
Bamco just fucking hates us over here.
Oh, I thought you meant like the specific guy responsible
No,
for the
not
Tales
the
series.
that's been so many different people over the years. I just mean,
well, I guess the guy who's credited for it is a guy named Yoshiharu Gotanda, who works at Tri-Ace.
oh yeah, because
He's credited as the creator of the Tales series.
he worked on Tales of Fantasia before the team split in two because some of the team liked the way Fantasia was going, and the rest wanted to go sci-fi and make Star Ocean instead.
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know what Square wants, but you know, I think I genuinely think Square is doing just fine. I just think they get the sense that they should be making more money than they make, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
I think they're just in denial at this point of like what I think they think they're bigger than they actually are, and that's kind of
that's probably what it is. When you know their games sell well, like Final Fantasy still holds a lot of weight to it. Dragon Quest holds a lot of weight to it. You know, like Vision. I mean, Visions of Mana's coming out. I'd be curious to see what their sales expectations are on Visions, or Visions is already out, I think. But I'd be curious to see what their expectations of that are as far as its sales. You know, I don't think we've gotten any sales figures on that game, have we? It's been out for a couple weeks now, actually. Shit.
I think it's digital only, which is probably
No, it has a physical.
Does it? I haven't been in a game store in fucking 2 months, so.
Well, every time I go into a store trying to find a specific game, they never have it. So I just like if I want a physical copy, like I'll just order it online.
Yeah, it's just easier at this point.
Like apparently the physical version of the Visions of Mana on Series X is Amazon exclusive.
Of course.
I mean, when Cyber Monday comes around, if they knock that down to like $20-$30, I'll probably grab it.
I will too, just because I love that series and I want to support it.
I played the demo and I liked what I played of the demo, but yeah, I would like to sit down and properly play that game. But
true. So on some of an unrelated note and just kind of something that I did spur of the moment just for fun, I ran a poll on our Twitter account just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, I did a poll just out of curiosity. I did the 4 main 3DO variants, the FC1, the FC10, the Gold Star, and the Sanyo. And I just asked the community, like, what's your favorite 3DO? The results were predictable, but also kind of fascinating. The poll's still running, but at this point, I think it's kind of tapered off. We got 13 votes, which is more than I expected for this. Unsurprisingly, the FC1 is leading the poll with 62% of the vote. The FC10 is trailing behind at 31%. And I guess someone voted for the Sanyo because it has 7%.
I think they just like how it looks.
I mean, I do too, personally, but I mean, I find it funny that Gold Star got nothing.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any interesting comments. Not really.
Actually, we got a bunch of interesting responses to it. Dynamic Gaming Twins got to go with the FC1. It just looks so unique at the time and feels of a higher quality than the later release variants. He's not wrong.
Yeah,
because it was kind of the one. Someone just said FC1. I think FC10 is probably my favorite. I think because it looks the most game console-y. Lewis JFC responded there. Videopolis said the original and best FC1 and posted a picture of his FC1.
Right below his GameCube with the Game Boy player in it. And I think he has the I think it's like the thing you put in the memory card unit that has like the SD card. So he probably modded his GameCube.
Gen X Geek said the FC1. I love the look of it. I like the Gold Star controller more though. That is certainly an opinion, sir. Thanks for watching. The FC, and then Jay said the FC1 is the 3D I remember seeing the most. From an aesthetics, I like the FC10 the most. And then Selective Mood said mine is with video CD adapter attached to the right side of my beloved FC10.
Nice.
Good for you, sir.
See, I voted FC10 because that's the version I have, and it's like the most reliable of them. It's the most functioning. Like the FC1 looks the coolest and is the most like 3DO, like it has the most personality to it. But the FC10, I mean, if you want to get a 3DO these days, that's probably the one you're going to get.
It is the one that looks like
it's the most available one, but it doesn't look that different from like say later CDI models.
Yeah, the Magnavox CDI that was.
Yeah, not the giant Philips one, but I think the one you said the Magnavox that was like the top loader one.
Yeah, the one that looks like a video game console.
Yeah, like they almost look the exact fucking same.
I think the 3DO has a bit more personality to it, but
it does, yeah.
Honestly, they all honestly have their own unique personalities. They do all look kind of like VCRs, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. But my favorite aesthetically, though, outside of the FC1 is I do like the Sanyo. I like that like weird wavy, like almost wrinkled paper look. Like that's a good look, man.
And then that like section that just has like 3DO just etched into it.
Yeah, like that's cool. Like that stuff looks cool. The Gold Star is the lamest one.
Yeah, the Gold Stars are certainly there.
That's a way to put it.
The Sanyos, I'd actually really like to get a Sanyo at some point, but they're apparently extremely rare because they didn't make a lot of them.
Yeah.
But
what can you do?
Yeah. I do want to thank everyone though for participating in the poll. Thanks for indulging me on my late night thing I thought would be funny to post. More people were into it than I thought. But yeah, other than that, any other news before we jump into the game or
nothing else I could think of?
I finally beat the Mario RPG remake.
How was it?
Great remake overall, 100%. Honestly, it's the best way to play that game now, I'd say personally. It's really funny though, you play that nowadays and you realize just how easy that game was back in the day, because I had a game I struggled with as a kid, I had no problem getting through as an adult. So
let's see. Oh, maybe some breaking news. Well, before let's see. Oh, did you see that there was the new like alleged images of the new Switch have leaked?
Yeah, and it looks like it just looks like a slightly longer Switch.
Yeah. And from what I've been hearing, they're gonna call it Switch 2.
That's fine, honestly.
Which it's the easiest way to do it. But breaking news. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are suing Power World.
Is it Power World?
Yeah.
Because I saw they were suing some Chinese mobile game.
It says right here, this is from VGC, Video Games Chronicle. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Power World developer Pocket Pair. This lawsuit, while filed in the Tokyo District Court, seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Power World, the game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringements of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties that it has worked hard to establish over the years, it said in the statement.
Huh. I'm mixed on this one.
I didn't think they'd do it. I didn't think they would do it.
Here's the thing, like, so they sued this Chinese mobile game like recently, but I saw the clip, the images of that game, and that one, it was so fucking blatant. Like I didn't blame them in the slightest. Power World is, I don't even know if you could say it's borderline because they aren't really copies at all.
Not really. I mean, the game was advertised as being like Pokemon with guns, right? But it ended up being something quite different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think I don't know how this is gonna go. My guess is they're just gonna try to bully them to get some money and be done with it.
I'm just curious.
Like, I don't see Pocket Pair. I mean, they might have the money. I don't know, but I don't see them fighting Nintendo in court about this.
I'm curious why now? The game's like dead at this point.
I mean, I'm sure people still play it, but you know,
they do, but like the public, like the hype for it is long dead, and most people.
Yeah, we're past it now.
Like, I initially thought Nintendo was being smart and by not acknowledging it, because by not acknowledging it, the life cycle of a game like this was going to naturally go from being popular for about a week, and then the people would move on. But now they're bringing it back into spotlight, and if anything, that's just going to bring more people back to it.
Yeah, like all this has done is given that game much more notoriety. You're correct on that. So
because I actually praised Nintendo like yesterday, talking to someone on a server saying, "Hey, like Nintendo actually was smart here by not acknowledging it."
How wrong you were.
And I know a week later, like a day later, Nintendo sues Pal World, and Pal World's relevant again.
Here we are.
Good for you, Nintendo. I don't know what. Well, I wonder if this is more the Pokemon company than Nintendo.
It might be. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, that happened.
Just figured I'd mention that because I just happened to see it.
That's why I was so confused, because I remember reading about the other lawsuit that they were throwing around before.
Ugh. What was the other one?
It was some Chinese mobile game that was basically just a blatant Pokemon ripoff. Like, it used like Ash and like Pikachu like blatantly.
Oh, yeah, that's never good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all I see is as far as news goes. There's a claim that Nintendo may be adding SNES mouse support to Switch Online games.
Cool.
Hey, we might get Mario Paint on NSO. That'd be kind of
dope.
That'd be kind of dope.
Mario Paint remixes are making a comeback.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, hell, they should at this point they should just make a new version of Mario Paint, like a modern Mario Paint.
Honestly,
that would like, and they make like a Switch mouse for it or whatever. Like, I mean, it would just be a USB mouse, but that'd be cool. People would get into that shit. I think that would do really well.
Honestly, just bring back the music composer. That was like the best part of the original game.
Oh yeah, I feel like they would limit that these days.
Yeah,
you know, because you know the first thing people would do is like, you know, make remixes of real songs and upload them to YouTube. And I feel like they would get. That's what people do now, but I feel like they'd be weird about it these days. I don't know why. It's Nintendo, man.
True, and most of those remixes were made with an unofficial, like updated version of that thing, which had so many more sounds.
Oh yeah, I saw what people did in that. It was pretty cool.
But anyways, we have a game to discuss for this episode.
Do we? Yeah, we do.
A little game called Off-World Interceptor.
I do not have it, but I did play it.
Fun fact: this game's rated M, which is really funny to me.
I think I know why.
Do you want to just talk about the fucking Mystery Science Theater shit now and just get that out of the way?
Fizzle beef. Yeah, what the fuck was up with that? Like, when I first started playing it, my initial thought was, did they really get those guys? And then as I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's no way they got those guys. Like, there is no way like Mystery Science would stoop this low. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't feel like something they would jump on. You know, call me crazy.
So, fun fact, when I was first looking for fun 3DO games to buy, like years ago when I first got my 3DO, I found this game and I was looking up reviews for it before I bought it. And I saw the Mystery Science. So for those who don't know, the opening cutscene straight up just has like Mystery Science Theater commentary over it. Like,
which is really fucking dumb.
Yeah, I don't get I guess it's supposed to be a joke, but I didn't get it. Like I was just kind
Like
of like,
yeah, I
okay.
don't understand it at all because it's like, are you trying to tell like a serious story or are you just like making fun of your own game? Like I don't understand the point of it because when you get into the game, the humor doesn't continue. You're just playing the
No.
game. So I really don't know the whole idea behind trying to do this weird like commentary stuff, you know? I mean,
See,
they had a couple good lines, but I just, it's not up to the same level, you know?
no. Like when I was watching that review years back and I saw the Mystery Science Theater stuff, I thought the reviewer was just trying to be really meta and funny. And I was like, all right, that was an interesting review. And then I hear
Yeah.
the actual reviewer start talking after. I'm like, wait, wait a minute. So then I look up another review and it's the same shit. I'm like, that's in the game. Like, it's like, okay, that's a
I don't,
choice.
yeah, yeah. I wonder what like Mike Nelson and Joel Hodgson think about this. I wonder
If they even are aware of it.
Oh, I know people have probably mentioned it to them.
They probably were like, yeah, whatever. Or maybe. So this game was made by Crystal Dynamics. For those who don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe Crystal just was like, "Can we do this?" And they were like, "I don't care." Like,
Yeah. Did you know Mr. Science Theater still technically goes to this day?
yeah. I mean, every now and then I'll check one out, and it's still somewhat entertaining.
Yeah, but they're well past the prime.
Yeah, it's an art form that's kind of not really a thing anymore, but some people will still do keep up with it.
Like the initial run in the 80s and 90s was really good, and then they did that Netflix revival, which was cool, but it felt kind of pointless. I mean, now they do riff tracks.
Yeah,
So they do something like riff tracks is cool. That's fun because they get other people to do it on there as well, and there's a whole riff tracks game as well.
Well, I mean, because Mystery Science Theater basically was like the first inspiration for like commentary YouTube channels, not like the drama commentary shit. I mean, like old video game commentators.
Yeah, like Mr. Science Theater is sort of the like kind of the nucleus of sort of that era of comedy, I think, because I think a lot of comedic YouTubers and even YouTube reviewers, like the initial stint, were inspired by Mr. Science Theater. You know,
it was a style that worked very well at the time, but is very dated by today's standards.
yeah. Though if you go back and watch like the old stuff, it holds up.
Oh yeah, the old
because
stuff is great. It's just it's something
fun.
that doesn't really work on modern stuff.
It's harder to do, I think, because there's not as much like commentating on like bad movies is just it's a different art form now. You know, like people like Red Letter Media have done a really good job at handling like B movies from like a modern perspective. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how you do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I know Red Letter Media were inspired by Mr. Science Theater. Absolutely.
So getting into the game a little bit, Off-World Interceptor is a racing / vehicular combat game, kind of.
Like a faux racing game?
Yeah. So basically any game that uses cars is just considered a racing game by like the video game genres.
Yeah.
It's one of those very broad definitions. It's more of a vehicular combat game. I wouldn't say like a Twisted Metal, more of the best way I could describe this game is it's like a space shooter, but you're a car.
Yeah, basically. It's very, very basic. You know, like I was not sure what to expect from this game at all when we decided to play it. You know, I did not know what I was getting myself into. And then when I played through the game, I'm just like, huh. This is interesting. It feels like it's on rails, and I think it is on rails.
So here's the thing that I made a discovery while playing this that I didn't notice I didn't notice this for years. I've recently made this realization. This game literally uses the same exact engine as another Crystal Dynamics game called
Gex.
That would be funny.
That would be awesome.
Total Eclipse, which is an on-rails space shooter.
That makes sense, though.
Like I played both games side by. It's a game we haven't covered for the show yet. We'll get to eventually, but I played them both just because out of curiosity, and it is legit. That's the reason why I call this game a space shooter on the ground, because it basically plays the same. Only the action is like 90% more like frantic and insane in this game.
Oh yeah, this game is fucking nuts.
Like, so I played 2-player of this game years ago, and I remember the 2-player being fucking amazing, like just because it was fucking insanity. The single player it's fine, I think is the best way to explain it. It's essentially you're in these like on rails like 3D environments, and there's just shit everywhere to shoot.
Like yeah, shit shooting at you from every which way. You have like cars running into you almost the entire time. There's like all these crazy hills and bumps that happen, and like the draw distance is so bad that you have a hard time anticipating everything. Though it's cool with the draw distance, like it does the whole like it like grows as it comes near you, which I think is kind of a cute effect, but it is just absolutely insane. And before you know it, the level's done, because each level's like maybe a minute and a half. So you're just kind of like, you're just driving there and just like, I'm holding accelerate and I'm holding fire. And then a minute later I'm done. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm done. I did that correctly. It's a game that's like, oh, I did it right, I guess. Like I beat the whole first world without really knowing what the fuck I was doing.
It's really funny going from like Blade Force to this game, because holy shit, Blade Force like pushes the system to its absolute limits, and then this thing is like, we just threw shit at the wall and saw what happened.
Though I don't think it looks bad graphically, though.
No, it's not ugly at all. Like the 3D is very 3D has a very distinct look to it, where it's like not really the polygons that like you'd think 3D, but it's still kind of 3D. 3D was a really weird system when it came to 3D.
Yeah, it almost has that like Donkey Kong Country look, where they made 3D models and then just made 2D images of those 3D models and put them in the game.
Yeah, because the cars are all pre-rendered. They are very nice pre-rendered sprites. Like they have like that cool animation where like they can actually like rotate around. It doesn't look like jank.
Yeah, it's all very like clean looking.
Honestly, it's actually kind of feels like a more refined version of like what they were trying to do in Crash and Burn.
Yes. Absolutely. Like if Crash and Burn controlled like this, it would have been a much better game.
Yeah, because this game actually feels very fluid. Like, I mean, it's not amazing by any means. Like, I'd still rather play like Road Rash or Need for Speed over this, but for what it is, like, I found it very entertaining in like short bursts. But I feel like playing this like in a long form would get really tiring really fast.
Yeah, for the couple hours I played of it, I had like a crazy wild time, because I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh,
but then, yeah, when it was done, it was just like what just happened, and then, and trying to process it all is weird. Cause yeah, it's like you have like the intentionally cheesy cutscenes, right? And then you have the fake Mystery Science Theater guys doing the thing that, they do. But I feel like this, like kind of doing a disservice to Mystery Science Theater with those two guys doing their thing. But, it was fine. It was fine. And then yeah, it just like kind of jumps you into the game, and it's like, oh, you gotta kill this bounty hunter or whatever. It's like, okay, and then you go through like 2 or 3 stages of just driving through all of this crazy ass terrain and all these lasers, and you complete it, and you're like, oh, I did it, cool. Trying to heal and get fuel as much as you can. You die a couple times, but you kind of learn the layout a little bit, and then you fight a boss, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta fight this fucking boss, and then I die. And then I'm like, what do I have to do? And it's like, oh, there's a shop. I can upgrade my stuff. Oh, let me max out my shields. And then I had no problem after that.
Yeah. It is such a, this game to me is like, it's like sensory overload combined with, it is like the perfect definition of 90s extreme. Like, just like.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's, because it was originally released on 3DO. But it got ports to the Saturn and the PlayStation later, called Off-World Interceptor Extreme, which is
rated M for mild language and suggestive themes. Wow, the M rating
that's not M. That's teen at best.
The M rating is really
I mean, to
really
be fair,
come a long way.
I mean, to be fair, those Mystery Science Theater wannabes, like, they spend a little too much time talking about the one woman in all those cutscenes. a little,
Yeah,
a little too much.
that was so 90s, like typical gamer cringe. I was like, wow, like this game has aged.
Yeah, I should have wrote down some of the quips because some of them were just not great.
A lot of eye rolling where I was like, oh, like what era? Like, let me guess what era this game came from.
Yeah, I think one of them was like the girl said like, "Oh, my eyes are up here," and the guy said, "Well, your butt isn't."
That's not even clever.
Like, yeah, it's like that level of writing, and it's like this is an insult.
Yeah.
To what to one of the most beloved series ever created. Without Mystery Science Theater, we would never know Manos: The Hands of Fate existed. Okay, we wouldn't have never known.
You know what's crazy though? Like, I was thinking about this. Like, you look at Crystal's other work on the 3DO at this point, like that we've played so far. Like Gex is quippy and goofy, but it's like a juvenile kind of quippy and goofy.
It borders on being iffy, but yeah, it gets away with it because it's just like a dumb lizard platformer thing. Like it fit in with like Bubsy and all this other stuff from the time, so it didn't feel out of place.
And then you look at Crash and Burn, which was just like edgelords in the corner.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think like Crystal's early days, they were very confused on what they wanted to be as a company at times.
Yeah. But yeah, the gameplay itself, like, I mean, it controls fine. It's weird the game doesn't let you reverse.
Yeah, because it's like, I think like when they reused the engine from Total Eclipse, they were just like, sir, this game's on rails. And it's like, yes, and just keep it in.
Like, whose idea was to make, like how on rails it is select is the fucking brake.
Yes.
Like, what the hell? Yeah, like you drive with the A or you drive with the B button. You shoot with the R button. I think it's A switches your special weapons and C uses your special weapon.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's a fine control scheme. And and L jumps, which I never found a real good use for jumping ever.
Yeah, it just seemed more of it was like you can jump. It's there if you want to use it.
The L button should do something. Well, maybe it should break. No, let's not get crazy here.
Jump. Like
fucking jump.
Crazy Taxi, eat your heart out.
Yeah, God. If only this game had Crazy Taxi soundtrack.
I know. Yeah, the music in this game is it's music.
It's music, all right.
Like, it's not even like entertaining like Gex's soundtrack was. It's just kind of like, it is the most like 90s. It's no Sledge Driver, damn it.
No, it's no Sledgehammer. Or Sledge Driver, sorry. Sledgehammer's a different song.
Now that would make the game so much more interesting.
I know, because this game, it came out like right before Twisted Metal. So it was like right on the cusp of the vehicular combat game becoming like a big deal. Because that's a genre that does not exist anymore.
No,
that's vehicular combat game.
That is a genre that came and went so fast, and they tried to revive it, and it failed miserably.
Like the only one that's hung around is Twisted Metal. And I think it's just because of like it being a first-party Sony series, so it has that name recognition. And they prop it up with say like shows and all this other stuff, right? Like there's a Twisted Metal show, and they still haven't like, as far as I know, there's no way to play any of the Twisted Metal games on a PS5. Like even the old ones, like Twisted Metal 1 on the fucking PlayStation 1, you cannot play that on your PS5 in a legal manner. Yet they have a Twisted Metal show that I think got a second season. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, the fuck you like if you're gonna promote Twisted Metal, give us the fucking games, guys.
Yeah, I know. It's weird too how like they tried to bring Twisted Metal back in 2013 or 11.
It was 2012.
2012. I was sort of there.
It was like right at the end of the PS3. Like right smack dab at the end, which felt like they could have just waited a year and a half and made that like a PS4 launch title, and it probably would have done much better.
See, the problem with that game was the game was fine, but they like pushed the online multiplayer aspect of it so hard that a lot of like the people that just wanted, like, I don't even think you could couch co-op, which kind of killed a lot of like the people who would have played that game, because one of the biggest parts of that was literally the couch co-op.
Yeah. So and Yeah, and I think the vehicular combat series, like that genre, went away because people learned how to make proper shooters.
And
You
then,
know
like,
what I mean? That like at first it was like, oh, let's just put people in cars because like we still don't really know how to make proper shooters. But then like once around the turn of the millennium, you had like your Quakes and your Unreals and everything really figuring it out. There was no need to put people in cars anymore.
and
It
then
was an
even then, like
outdated concept.
the car people, they just kind of moved on to like GTA, like open world games like that.
Yeah, or just playing racing games,
Hmm.
which were getting a lot better by that time as well. So
Like I've said it before in a few episodes, but like the last real vehicular combat game that I thought legitimately tried to do something interesting was this really obscure one back on the OG Xbox PS2 era called Roadkill, which was
I've heard of
essentially-
Roadkill.
it was like if Twisted Metal met like Grand Theft Auto and they like actually tried to like expand it. And it's it's nothing special, but it's like a fun enough idea and concept for what it is. And like I kind of wish they did more, like if they were going to keep vehicular combat games going, that was the direction they went, but they stuck too heavily with basically Twisted Metal wouldn't move on.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, there was that Destruction All Stars a couple years ago. Which tried to bring it back, and that didn't really work.
Yeah, it's like it's just a genre that's kind of it's a dead horse genre, I guess is the way you could describe it.
Yeah, it was fulfilling a need that was needed at the time for just trying to find this weird spot between like racing games are starting to get better, shooters are starting to get better, so it just kind of fit in that weird little middle ground. And then once both genres really realized themselves into what they could be, people wanted one or the other. Like they didn't really want both, so
Yeah.
it was just dead in the water at that point. Yeah, like by the PS2 era, I mean, Twisted Metal Black is really good, but by the PS2 era, like if you wanted a racing game, you'd buy Gran Turismo. If you wanted a shooter, you would buy Call of Duty Big Red 1, and that was that.
Yeah, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
That being said, though, that doesn't affect this game at all. In a negative way, I'd say this game is kind of one of those interesting precursors from before the genre really became huge, but it didn't really stick around long. It didn't have enough of an impact for it to kind of become something bigger.
Yeah, it was like right before it all blew up. So maybe if it waited a little bit, it could have done more. Or my guess is probably when the Saturn and PlayStation ports, those happened because like Twisted Metal kind of started like potentially a new genre. So they're like, oh, let's remind people that this game happened.
Yeah, because I initially thought this was a sequel, but it's actually just an updated port.
Yeah, I've heard it's not that different.
No, I played around with it. It runs a little better and it has a little more content. And it's extreme.
I mean, I can tell. I can look at it and see how extreme it is.
I mean, look at that Moa statue in the back there. Like Squidward's house is on this in this game, man.
That goddamn Easter Island.
Yeah. Also,
go ahead.
Also, fun fact about my copy of it. The manual is Off-World Interceptor. The game itself is Off-World Interceptor. The back case and like spine is from another 3DO game called Siberia.
How'd that happen?
Who knows? I'm assuming they just kind of they must have swapped the cases around and then the manuals. I don't know.
Well, that's another game we have to talk about, Siberia.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I do own that one actually as well. I just find it really funny that I have a Siberia case with Off-World Interceptor in it. Other than that though, there's not a lot of like real information on this game other than like what we really know. Like I believe in development it was originally known as Orion Off-Road.
Sure.
Off-World Interceptor is cooler, I guess.
Yeah. And there's like the story mode that we talked about. There's the arcade mode, which kind of drops you into one of the planets, and you can just kind of, it's almost like a quick play kind of mode. There's that multiplayer mode, which I didn't play. I imagine it's probably not bad in multiplayer.
It's death match. Like you're up against the other opponent. It's basically just like you do basically just fight it out to the death. It's actually really fun. It's arguably the funnest part of this game.
Yeah. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, but
with just the insane frantic gameplay in here, it actually is kind of cool. Like cool idea.
Yeah. So
now reception wise is kind of interesting for this game. It mostly got mixed reviews like across the board.
That's I think that's fair.
The music was highly criticized as, I love this description. GamePro referred to it as slightly hokey.
Yeah, it kind of is slightly hokey, and that might be coming down to the cutscenes.
Yeah. So a lot of people claimed, like early reviews, they liked the Mystery Science Theater stuff. They claimed it was funny and added freshness and originality to the game.
I think they're only saying that because Mystery Science was in its like big run at the time, and so it was still kind of a fresh new concept, just Mystery Science in general. So seeing it pop up in a game, it must have been like, oh, it's that thing I like. That's cool, because I guarantee you most of the people reviewing games back then were watching Mystery Science Theater, so they converge. So I kind of get that. Like at the time, it was probably kind of cool to see. But I don't know. I felt like it just should have been more of like a bonus than anything else.
Yeah, like an extra thing. Like I wish there was a way to like turn it off. Like
yeah, that'd be nice. Or they could have done something really cute and have one of the commentators be Gex.
I think this game predates Gex, but that would be entertaining.
Yeah, like having Gex do like a fake Mystery Science Theater over other Crystal games would actually be kind of cool, I think.
I'd actually kind of like to see like Dana Gold do commentary as Gex over video games.
Yeah, that I think that would have been neat. But let's see. Off-World Interceptor was like late '94. Gex was early '95, so it was probably in development around the time it was released.
So All Game gave it a 2.5 stars out of 5. Edge Magazine gave it 7 out of 10. EGM gave it 7.4 out of 10. Next Generation gave the 3DO and Saturn versions a 3 out of 5 stars. Sega Saturn Magazine, I didn't realize that was a thing.
I'm not surprised.
Gave it a 65%.
It was a UK-based magazine.
Gotcha. 3DO Magazine gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I wonder if I think they gave Crash and Burn 5 out of 5 stars too. I think Crystal Dynamics and them had a deal. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's see. I found it. Let's see. The 3DO system is becoming something of a nirvana for racing fanatics, with Road Rash and Need for Speed blasting away all earthly competition, while Interceptor provides a mega blasting sci-fi variant.
Sure.
This is what they say. Overall, Off-World Interceptor is a classic arcade game with simple objectives, seductive visuals, and sonics. The music is up to Crystal Dynamics' usual high standards, and gameplay that is simply joyful. Inconceivable on any other machine. This is outstanding stuff, and with a brilliant 2-player game, quite unmissable.
I mean, it's a fair review.
Yeah, there is more. They talk about it a lot more, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. I mean, sure. Like this. I mean, this was still fairly early in the system's life, so you just have to think about what else was on the 3DO at this time. Sort of like compare. Let me see.
I mean, it's better than Crash and Burn. I don't think it's better than Road Rash or Need for Speed, but
no. This came out the same day as Demolition Man.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. Oh, and apparently it did come out the same day as, or around. It came out a week after Gex, apparently.
Oh. Huh.
That's weird, because now I'm getting confusion, because Gex's thing itself says on 3DO it came out April 7th, 1995. Yet in the list of 3DO games, it says it came out November 16th, 1994. Somebody got their wires crossed.
Yeah. And then the final company that left a major review was Power Unlimited, and they gave the PS1 version
I
a
love
90.
that name, Power Unlimited.
Yeah. For a second, I thought it said Unlimited Power, but no, Power Unlimited is just funnier.
Unlimited power. I was thinking that.
They gave it a 91%. They liked it. That's also the only one PS1 version that got a review.
It is what it is, man.
So yeah, across the board, no like particularly negative reviews other than that one that gave it a 2.5 stars. But
yeah, people really seem to like that Mystery Science Theater stuff because it was probably in vogue at the time. But
and I mean, the game isn't bad. It's
no.
I think if you got this as a 3DO kid who had probably like nothing to play, this would probably keep you entertained for an hour or so. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Now that's an insult.
I mean, who knows? Kids actually probably find this shit more entertaining than adults do.
I mean, you have to think about when this game, like came out in the 90s, when most of us, it was just, you had, I guarantee you, there was a couple people like this was like the game they had for a while. So they had to make the most of it, and yeah, I could make the most of this game for maybe a week and then I would be ready to move on. But, just our brains are wired differently these days.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays our attention span is like, we want to finish it as fast as possible and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. It's just because our access to games has gotten so much bigger that, we want to get to everything, but we never will.
Nope. Unfortunately not. Yeah, other than that though, I guess for must play, okay, stay away, I'm going to say sure, why not?
A very hard okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad game at all. There are definitely worse games to play on the system, but I think its big issue is it doesn't have enough substance to really make it worth playing the whole thing. That's kind of its big issue. I think it's decently made. It's memorable enough to fit in that 90s weirdness that I think we like so much, but just as a game itself, it doesn't have a lot of substance, unfortunately.
No, it's a problem that a lot of games from this era just kind of had, where they're cool ideas, but they just kind of like, you can only take a cool idea so far without a lot of substance behind it.
Yeah, the development was probably more in figuring out all these really cool new graphical technology ideas that they had to sort of make these games bigger in terms of what they could do processing power wise, but games that had like substance. I mean, there were games that had substance in this era, but they were struggling. Where say if you go back to the 16-bit era, even a lot of like the smaller B games still had a fair amount of substance to them because everything was kind of in this 2D realm, so it was more of just getting kind of more creative, interesting ideas out there, where it felt like this era was trying to push 3D and that was like becoming the new thing, but developers were realizing more time was spent making these games 3D than making them like full-fledged experiences like they were in the previous generation. And I think Off-World Interceptor is an example of that.
It's also part of the era too, where like vehicle-based like driving, racing, like style games, they hadn't quite got the technology to truly make them like what they were yet. Like I think Need for Speed was probably like one of the perfect examples of how like to properly do a game, like a racing game early on.
Yeah. Need for Speed did it really well. I mean, Road Rash did it really well as well.
Road Rash did as well.
So
like when I think back to like the 16,
I mean, Road Rash is a vehicular combat game.
Yeah, it is actually.
And it kind of is like the peak of like the pre-Twisted Metal era, because the focus is on the racing.
Oh yeah,
constantly on the racing. Whereas Twisted Metal, did something very different with it. And I think Off-World Interceptor is like in that like between Road Rash and Twisted Metal. Like it doesn't quite know where it wants to be in that. Like, should we focus on the racing? Should we focus on the combat? Like it doesn't focus enough on either one to really make it stand out.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that just about does it.
Yeah,
Sorry, my brain kind of just turned off there for a minute.
that's okay. That's okay.
It's been a week. It's only halfway. We're only halfway through it, but that's besides the point.
Pray for Bill.
So we had said last week we were originally planning to do Samurai Showdown, but that led to we had to plan out some scheduling for that, and we chose this one instead. I believe the goal is we're going to do Samurai Showdown next week.
I hope so.
We just got to go remind Aaron so he doesn't plan anything in advance.
Yeah.
But
do we need a fallback game just in case? Or you think we'll be okay?
I think we'll be okay. Worst comes to worst, we can just do another chat episode. So,
alrighty.
Yeah, so we'll plan for that. And once again, guys, thank you for joining us on the. No, this isn't the Gaming Collecting Podcast. God damn it!
I don't think it is. No.
Thank you for joining us.
I want to dance now.
Get the water bottle.
It's right here.
But once again, guys, thank you for joining us on the 3DO Experience. The 3DO Experience can be found on all the major podcasting platforms. And be sure to check us out over at superpodnetwork.com. You can see it scrolling down there at the bottom of the video.
Yeah, it's like breaking news or like a tornado watch in your area.
I'm figuring the tech out for this thing slowly. But that's superpodnetwork.com. It is an awesome site featuring a ton of awesome podcasters, featuring different shows, videos, blogs, whole bunch of fun stuff. And we have a bunch of other awesome creators over there, such as Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio.
Look at that.
Retro Rehab, cool. Tommy's Video Game Ride-Along, A Novel Console, Bar Silence, Fine Time, The Elder Trolls Gaming Podcast, Remember 64, Gaming Together, Friday Night Gamecast, Gaming and Collecting. Yeah, that's mine. This show, and Geek Addicts. See, I got a fancy banner down there now, so I can remember every show.
You wrote your notes on the screen.
Yes, and I will never forget again until I do.
That's okay.
But with that, everybody. Oh, are you streaming tomorrow? Or
Yes. Apologies for last week. Had some things come up, but I will be streaming tonight because this is probably going to be up on the Thursday. So yeah, tonight at 7 p.m. I will be streaming, and I'm going to tackle another Sonic game this week.
Nice.
Though not what you're expecting.
I sense a lot of confused people and some disturbances, but
And my YouTube channel has reached 500 views. Thanks, everybody.
Nice. Yep, and be sure you can check that out down at twitch.tv/Thrack94. Link is in the description of the podcast. And with that, everybody, we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?